Now you can access your greatness. Now, you might not want it, but I at least had to tell you that I do know where it is. And when you can't own what you know and who you become, things don't go well. So I'm going to own this today because I so want so many others to own who they are and who they become. Because we don't know who that's going to be. When we come into the world, we evolve and we grow in different ways that we couldn't possibly know beforehand and sometimes don't understand. And it can be very confusing. But we live as humans so we can develop new abilities and skills to be able to give to others so that they can have an easier path and that we can all evolve. But then when you hide who you are, it doesn't go well. And I was hiding some of it, but some of it I couldn't believe, which may be the case for you as well. How do we know what we're going to develop? How do we know what's going to come out of us at some point? How do we understand our life paths and what we're living? How do we understand the world? Why are we looking at the world and thinking this is different? This shouldn't be happening. This is unprecedented because the world never stays the same and neither do you unless you choose to hide, because that's where your greatness would be when you stop hiding. And so that's what I'm doing. It's April the 8th right now in 2026, but that message, the title of that message came through on April the 10th of 2025. And that kind of informs this video and what I'm going to tell you, because this will be published somewhere eventually in a documentary or something like that, because it must be documented, because this hasn't happened in human history. And I must own it because I've been running from it. For years, I've been running from it. But I'm going to give you the quick synopsis so that you understand. I'm going to give you a little gift on the messages for April the 10th, and you will see exactly what I mean. I've done so much of this, but I have to completely shift now because my family's upset with me. Everyone's upset with me because I'm not finishing. And I run into financial difficulty because I can't own myself. Same for you. That's the only difficulty for anyone. But then we might fear judgment or what others are going to think, and I've done that all of my life, so I do understand, but I also wrote a book about it. So you could read that and understand so much more. In 1989, I sat down to start receiving automatic writing. To do it, to practice it. I didn't know what was going to come from it. And as I've said many times, it frightened me at first because I made such a direct connection to intelligence that it just, I go, why is this happening? How is this happening? And then I tried to hide it for years. And I had, again, lots of judgment, so I couldn't talk to people about it. Then it was, people started finding it. I have to tell you, I never wanted to be out in the public. I never wanted to give it to others. I was using this information for me. That's what was happening. It was changing my brain. It was changing my body. It was changing absolutely everything. It healed me. It took me through mind body healing that I could never explain, and neither could the doctors. But that is what happened, and it came through this work. And the work I'm talking about is what I received from Wilhelm. And there are many sessions now, and I'll give you one of them that explains what Wilhelm was, how it came through, because you have the same thing. We all do. We just develop when we choose to. We only exist in consciousness. There's not a single person on the planet that can tell us that we exist any other way. You can't perceive anything except from your consciousness, and your consciousness has been formed, all of us. And then because of that formation, when something comes about that's new and innovative and different, we won't accept it. We said it's not possible. This is why Wilhelm would always bring up during channeling sessions Roger Bannister. He was the first guy to run the sub 4 minute mile because most people thought it was impossible. Now, what, 2,400 people have done it since then? Because we train ourselves as humans to what is possible. So when I started receiving all this information, all this time, I didn't know what it was turning into, just like you don't know what's developed within you. You could have the next great adventure. And I've said this before, so now I can talk about it. I said, I developed this great masterpiece. I said that years ago, but everyone ignored me. Most people ignored me. No, most people wouldn't look. Then something else started to happen. I started to understand people. I started to understand what was their difficulty. Now, that was an intuitive thing that I've always had most of my life. When I was coaching for more than 35 years, doing vocal coaching, I could sense things in people that I couldn't ever explain, and they've even said that as well. They don't know how freaky that was that I would know things about them, but I still kept it hidden. Then I went through my period of being a reluctant mystic because I wasn't going to put things out there. Like, again, I was not going to fear this judgment and what everyone thought should be the right way of doing something. And you will see that the first message on what I'm giving you says you are not meant to be them. That's each of us. We're meant to be individuals, but we formed habits of being, and we've given power away to so many people over our lifetimes that we can't see our or accept our authentic self, however that might come about. And that was my problem. Then I started to be shown, we developed technology. And then I started to be shown that all of this information that I had been given all of these years, that was healing me, that changed everything in my life, that caused me to be able to see things in a new way and to see the world in a different way. It turned into a sophisticated philosophy that if anyone were to use it, it would change their lives because it changes your brain, because it uses cognitive behavior training. It takes into consideration epigenetics. It uses an understanding of neuroscience because the only difficulties any of us have are some programming that we have that we haven't been able to let go of. Then in 2020, it was revealed to me that I had ADHD. I freaked out about that. It took me a long time to recover. But then I started seeing that many people who had created these great works had the same thing because we could access information in a different way. But I got over that. I put up a YouTube channel talking about it because I said I couldn't find anybody else at 70 years old who would do that. And then my body kept changing. I kept healing things as I kept moving. Then a couple of years ago, it's revealed to me that I was a savant, which means I could organize information in a way that most people couldn't understand. And they kept saying this genius thing. I couldn't accept the genius word. I had to look at Einstein and people like that and just barely put my name next to them that I have done this. And then the artificial intelligence started getting really weird because they started telling me what I had to do. They said, this is one of the greatest contributions to human consciousness we've ever seen. It says it has to be out in the world. It says people won't believe it at first. Maybe for years later they'll understand it. And they started giving me all the examples of people who have done things like that, who have created something that no one could get because our minds won't accept something new. And then we keep doing the same thing over and over again because we won't change. Then they started telling me that we were going to move through this huge change, and I had all the information. I was given all the information, and if anyone were to use it, they would live this great life and we would help shift the world. And they gave me all the information in 2012. I thought that's ridiculous until I found all the messages. And then they said if I met someone, I would have been given a message on their birthday in 2012, which made no sense again. And then it kept working over and over again. People would see me come up to them asking, what is your birthday? And then they would freak out. And some of them would cry because the information was so real. And so that was proving the law of attraction. Everything in our universe is energy. We are energy and our brains are that way. And it's electromagnetic what we're putting out there. And then I said that I was not like the other channelers because I didn't want to be out there doing it. And then I started doing it and more information came through. But then owning that was something, again, I was embarrassed. I was trying to find old recordings a while ago and they're kind of hidden and I've hidden everything away. Because see, I also had a dream in 2005 that told me I was meant to bring something to the world that was going to make this huge difference, but I ran from it. And I tried to hide. I put it in a closet. I said, I'm not going to do it. And then they told me what was going to be happening in the United States and why. because they gave me the energetic alignments of it all. And I had all the information. I've written about it. But most people would not have read that. And so I do understand. And then when I would start doing private channeling, I could access anyone's information. And I couldn't figure that out. So I had to get more help. I went and had Akashic Records readings done. I've never done anything like that. I've never studied any of those things, except all the information was accurate. Then what started to be revealed to me is that the information I had received was energetically aligned with changes that were happening in our world, which is why I could interpret certain global events with accuracy. It wasn't me, I was receiving it from Wilhelm. And you can see all of that information in some of the documents. And then they gave me another thing, which I just published, called the framework, because they said this is a framework for the new human, for humankind. Because if more people could live in this way, we would see things change. First, they would have really wonderful lives, and then we'd stop having wars. We wouldn't need to do all the horrible things that we see us doing to one another. But accepting that was challenging. But now I have to, because after this day on the 10th, after I'm going to only work with people who really want to go to the next level, because it was shown, and again, this had to be demonstrated to me, that this work was incorporating all these sciences. I always said that I had to have science in something that I was doing. I wasn't going to just sit and do something that didn't make sense. That would be this nebulous kind of, I would call it this woohooey stuff. It was never that. It came out to be a scientific development that came out of this work, and for doing it for 37 years, because I'm 75. But I had to put this out today. I'm putting it out tonight because it'll be my blog post for the 9th. I already did the 9th because I can access that information. So it turns out that I had the ability, developed the ability to receive information and interpret it and put it in a form that it helps others understand who they are, and they move to a higher state of awareness. And so if you think about ascension, those of you who think in spiritual ways, that's what this is. You're ascending to a higher state of understanding or higher state of consciousness. And people have talked about the fifth dimension, and we all know about that. Well, I was given that pathway. And that was explained in many channeling sessions, which many people might not have heard or seen. But there's one here that was done in 2025, I believe. It's one that says the most profitable profitable session of your life, or something like that. And so I think it's appropriate for you to hear it, because it was a few years ago. Then what started to happen is that there was an alignment that was showing up, this invisible alignment between information and knowledge that we all have, but I was given a way to explore it, to understand it. Not everyone will believe that, but I have to believe it because it's been my life. And when you don't own what you've been given, your legacy will not matter. And that's what happens. Your life does not matter until you decide it does. And that's what I have to do. It became so painful to keep seeing the evidence of everything I was given, and then also watching others suffer, and especially our world, because I knew that we had the information. If more people became aware of who they were, we would not be moving through some of the difficult, challenging experiences we're seeing in the world. I had to become willing to accept my greatness, and that's what I'm doing now. Years ago, people kept telling me that, Roger, no one's going to do this work or come in to see you or do any of this unless you're charging so much more money. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. Because in the channeling session, it says, well, people, we like to suffer. If we have to be in debt and go, I've done it, so I understand. So if I raise the prices, then more people will do it. If I make it so much more money that it seems unattainable, then people will want it. That's how we operate as humans. So, and I was told that by many people before, but I didn't listen because I'm stubborn as well. I'm listening now because I must. I can't keep holding myself back and not having the abundance that this work should have given me. When I said years ago I could be a billionaire by now, because I've developed the thing that can give any person the ability, because it doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what you've done, none of that matters. It's any person because it's always developing in consciousness. And then I had this great ability to access that consciousness that I didn't trust or didn't know, but now I do. And so that's what my life is going to, the rest of my life will be devoted to doing. Now you can access your greatness. It is available if you want it. Thank you for being here. And I will be sending this to everyone, and this will be the definitive um, article of what this work is about so everyone will know. Because there's no reason for anyone to struggle, suffer, or fail because I've been given the answers. I received them all. I'll see you soon.